Alright, we got TWID today, obviously. Edge Fate impressions are live. We know all this, a whole bunch of info and stuff they released and stuff. Some cool stuff, some meta stuff, some really interesting stuff. Obviously, we got no ability stuff, which sucks, but this tier 1 to tier 5 weapon system and stuff is pretty cool, so I am pretty excited for it. We'll see how it actually ends up turning out once the game goes live, obviously. Whole bunch of crazy things, though, not gonna lie. It's pretty nutty how much stuff there is. Anyways, so they answered some of the questions. A lot of this was already answered multiple times, but no vault space until the next DLC, which is Renegades, which is a few months after or whatever it is. So yeah. New weapon archetypes, a whole bunch of them are coming out. I think it's a total of 3 or 4 new ones. There might be more, but I think it's 3 or 4, and that's it. They might bring out more. We'll see. There might be more revealed soon on their live stream. So we'll see what that turns out. So, Stella Core's new material coming. We'll find more in future TWID. Gear tiering exotics. So, gear tiering and exotic armor 3.0. So, mobility is now weapons. Resilience is now health. Recovery is now class. Strength is now melee. Discipline is now grenade. And intellect is now super. That's how that works. So, your old armor is going to automatically change these stats. But they're not going to be that great because they're not going to be the new armor type. They're getting changed to the new armor type, but they're actually not fully getting changed. The extra upgrades and stuff you get from the new armor stuff won't be a thing. Obviously, the exotic stuff will have this, which is fine, but the other armor won't. So you definitely have to farm new armor to get the better stats. They talk about what each one is. Health 1 to 100. You grant you 0 to 70 healing when picking up an orbital power, which is kind of crazy. Grants a 10% flinch resistance. I feel like I really wish it would have been more personally, but it's fine, whatever. Whenever you get to 100 to 200, it should actually say 101 to 200 because technically this part doesn't start until 101. That applies to all of these, so make sure you know that. It's actually 101 to 200. Your shields start recharging 0 to 25% more quickly. Obviously, the 0 being the 101, or the 100, I guess, in this case, to 25% being the 200. It takes 0 to 50% less time to fully recharge, so your shields come back quicker, and they take less time to recharge. So that's kind of cool. 0 to 20 additional shield capacity versus combatants. I don't know if that just means PvE or all things, but this could make a difference in PvP or not. We'll see. Melee 1 to 100 improves the base cooldown of your melee ability. Improves the amount of melee energy gained from external sources and any melee regeneration speed scalars from any source or from other sources. So basically, you pop a shield, you get grenade, or you get your melee back grenade or whatever, or get your own shield back, stuff like that. It's just anything that gives you, or you pick up an orb, you get a little bit of melee back, stuff like that. Any type of modern thing that helped you get your abilities back quicker, this is now going to scale based on your stats. So that's kind of cool. 100 to 200, it's 0 to 30% increased melee ability damage, which is actually crazy. And even though a lot of people are upset about Prismatic, if you don't know, the Prismatic, a lot of the aspects are getting nerfed from 3, allowing 3 fragments to be equipped at a time to only 2. They were going to do it to 1, but 2. People are complaining about that, but in reality, it's not much of a nerf. It's just an adjustment. It's a slight adjustment because we have things where Consecration plus Knockout is broken as fuck for damage and ad clearing. And now we're going to get 30% increased melee damage with it as well. And you top that into 1-2 punch combo. Obviously, Consecration might not be able to do that with 1-2 punch because the timing is really iffy. But you never know. Someone might find a way to time it really perfectly. You never know. It always comes out crazy stuff like that. But you could definitely do Knockout with it and get increased melee from the Knockout, increased melee from the 200 if you have 200 for 30% increase, plus 1-2 punch. Which is what, 100% increase, I think? So not bad. Pretty crazy combo, potentially. We'll see. Hammer could be crazy again. 30% damage on top of that hammer could be really insane. We'll see. Grenade was 1 to 100. Improves the base cooldown of your grenade ability. Improves the amount of grenade energy gained from external sources and any grenade regeneration speed scalars from other sources. Same thing as the melee. Anything that increases your ability to get your grenade back quicker, it'll make it even quicker now in theory. 100 to 200 is 0 to 65% increased grenade ability damage. So 65% increased grenade ability damage is pretty nutty because there's actually some good combos of grenade damage right now. Warlock, so this could be broken. And my question is, does this actually scale with the Strand melee? Does the melee 30% and the 65% from grenade stack because the grenade melee for Strand, the grapple melee counts as a melee and a grenade currently? So is that going to count as a grenade now permanently, or is that going to count as a melee permanently? Or is it still going to be both? Because if it's both, that's an insane amount of damage increase. So literally going max damage for both of those, which logically should be possible. I don't know how many stats you can get to 200. Maybe 3 is the most they're going to allow. I don't know. Maybe you can get lucky and get way higher than that. I have no clue. We'll see when the build crafting system comes out. But potentially here, if it still counts as both, grapple melee, which is already good for 1-2 punch, might even be better for 1-2 punch by a mile. So we're about to see some crazy combos. Who knows? We'll see. It's very curious to see what's going to happen with that. Super 1 to 100 improves super energy gain from damaging targets. It does not change the base cooldown time of your super. So basically, you only benefit now. So instead of increasing the base time like it does currently, you go from like 5 minutes to like 4-minute type things. That might not be an accurate statement of supers, but my point is you get several minutes off of a super. I think the highest supers are like 935 at base, and now if you have 100 intellect, it goes down to like 7 minutes or something. Now that's not how that's going to work. It's purely based on damage, so the more damage you do, like already how it works, but now they're just taking away the base cooldown. So it's all the same. Everyone's super is the exact same now, I guess, or they're still keeping them all in tiers. I don't know. We'll see. I assume they'll still keep them in tiers because it'd be a little broken if everyone had the exact same amount of super energy, especially for the more broken supers. So, but now you get a lot more gain from damaging targets, so who knows? We'll see how that turns out. That could be very broken PvP as well. Improves the amount of super energy gained from external sources and any super generation speed scalers from other sources. Same thing as like they said. So, as the melee and the grenade makes you have ability quicker. Anything that gives you super helps generate super, gives you even more now at the higher scales, which is cool. 100 to 200, 0 to 45% increased super ability damage. Add a Celestial Nighthawk to that. Add a Titan chest piece to that. Add a few different things to that. That's fucking broken. And actually, with the chest piece with the Titan, you're only losing 5%, because currently the chest piece with the Titan plus the limit break, I think, is only a 50% increase or a 30% increase. I think it's a 30% increase to damage right now. So imagine Slam plus the chest piece, which is a 50% or 100% or whatever it is increase, plus limit break, which is a 35% increase, I believe. Now they're scaling it to 45%. So now imagine how good Slam is now and how broken it is for damage. Now imagine how broken it's going to be for damage. Especially if you add a debuff. Dude, this thing might be a monster potentially. I might be wrong with the numbers. I believe it's 30-35% with limit break on currently for supers. I think it's an increase. So this 45%, it's a huge increase. If it's 50%, then it's a little less, but it's still insane damage, so it's not that much. I don't know. You'll have to look at the stats. Tell me in the comments, because I'm not sure. Class ability 1 to 100 improves base cooldown of your class ability. It's the greatest thing ever. We finally got a class ability thing. It sucked how they had it tied up and set up for Hunter, Warlock, and Titan. I'm finally glad they did this. There are some negatives in this. There are some things. So if you don't know, mobility for Titan and Warlock now is permanently at 30. You can't change it. I mean, you can change it through some special mods they made, new mods that allow you to change it, but in reality, those mods are kind of trash because they only go up a little bit, so you have to stack quite a bit of them to go up a lot, and you need other things on your boots. So that's where they go, according to what people were saying, which that's not great. And Hunter is now at 40, supposedly, permanently. So 10 more, but that is really bad for Hunter because Hunter's jump is based. All base jumps are based on your movement. If they keep that in, that's going to be really bad because the Hunter jump is going to be horrible. It's going to feel like absolute shit. So, we'll see how the fuck that turns out. But other than that, this is still cool they did this finally, so I'm happy about it. It improves the amount of class ability or class energy gained from external sources and any class regeneration speed scalers from other sources. Obviously, improves your base cooldown of your class ability, and then you get a huge amount or a bigger amount based on your number. And then 100 to 200, like they said, grants a 0 to 40 HP overshield, 0 to 10 HP overshield in PvP. So it's not going to be that broken in PvP, but there are going to be situations, especially with hand cannons, you might not be able to 3-tap. I think if you use max weapon, which we'll get to in a second, then I think it will be able to counter that and still 3-tap with like a hand cannon or 120 or 140. But if you don't have max weapon, I don't think it'll 3-tap anymore, so that could definitely be problematic. And that's on casting your class ability. I don't know if it stays on permanently or it's only a second, only what, which obviously we see down here, it actually answers that for us, so we'll talk about that in a second. Duration is determined by the ability used. Example, dodge and thruster last 5 seconds. Barricade and rift last 10 seconds. Personally, I think it should all just be the exact same second. I don't know why Barricade and Rift is 10 seconds. Rift is broken as is with healing, and then you add the overshield that it gets. That's not going to be great. And Barricade, we already have Titan Barricades that are overshields. Is that going to stack? Is it going to be the overshield of a Titan Barricade plus this overshield? If that's how that's going to work, that's going to be fucking broken, because that's a lot of seconds then. So I'm not sure that's going to work. Or are they just removing Overshield completely from Titan and making this the only way to get Overshield now? I'm not really sure. We'll see how that turns out. It'll be intriguing to see. Weapons, with 1 to 100, improves weapon reload and handling speeds, which is crazy. I don't know about the exact percentage, but hopefully it'll be a lot, hopefully, or at least a decent bit that we'll notice it. Improves damage versus minor and major combatants, 0% to 15% for primary and special, 0 to 10% for heavy. That's pretty crazy, because that's 10% on top of like Legend of Acrus right now, which is good for the Prophecy boss, first boss. So 10% damage on top of what it already does is pretty crazy. 100 to 200 grants a chance for ammo bricks produced to contain more ammo than normal, which is awesome. That's actually a really cool system. I don't know if finders and stuff still work as well and they stack with this, or if this is just the new finder system in general and then there's no more finders. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of questions we don't know about yet. Improves damage versus boss, combatants, and guardians. If you get from 100 to 200, that's pretty crazy. 0 to 15% for primary and special, 0 to 10% for heavy. So again, you can increase damage to bosses. Obviously, this first one was just minor and majors, but I knew this was coming up. That's why I ended up talking about it. So 10% for heavy is pretty crazy. Bonus weapon damage versus players is 6%. I don't know how much that will make a difference. I don't know if that's just a 10 HP increase from the Overshield or not. I'm not really sure. We'll see. For the stats going away with the new system, we have set them to be a fixed value for all players. Mobility is fixed to what 30 once was for Titans and Warlocks and 40 for Hunters. It kind of sucks, like I said. Additionally, there are new leg armor mods to adjust this higher, like I said, but they're going to be kind of shit because according to what Swallow is saying, they're not very good increase. So maybe 1 or 2 at most, but even then, might not be worth it. Resilience is fixed to what 100 once was. Recovery is fixed to around what 60 once was. Swallow also said that it felt like it was at like 30. Recuv, not 100, which they said it was 100, but obviously they now decided it would be 60. But according to what he said, that's not true, which is a problem though, because 60 is extremely slow. 100, like the lowest you could go currently is 80, and it feels decent. It feels slow, but it's decent. So if it's now stuck at 60, this is gonna be horrible for PvP because you're never gonna fucking heal, ever. So unless they have mods as well to enhance this as well, there's going to be issues with this, because it doesn't say, it only says for the mobility. So if there's not, this is horrible. It's the worst stat ever. I know there is obviously the stuff up here that helps and stuff, but my point is this still is going to be horrible to feel at base. When everything's low level and stuff, this is going to be horrible. So I'm not very happy about that, but we'll see. Either way. Alright, ability stats and recharge rates. As part of this major rework, we have tuned all of the base recharge rates of abilities to better align with the way the new stats work, brain. At low stat investment, 0 to 30, your abilities will be recharging slower than they used to, but at high investment, 7 to 800, they will be recharging faster. This could be a potential problem. So some of the things I said earlier, we now get answers to. This could definitely be a problem. Any chunk energy gains, like demolitionist-like perks that provide a direct amount, and any energy recharge scalers, think Crown of Tempest, will also now be scaled by your stat investment. At 70 stat, they will match the live game values and surpass them up to 100 stat. Below 70 stat, they will give less value than the live game. That's sketchy. We believe that these changes together make the stats more impactful than they have been previously, as while there are now more trade-offs to not investing in a stat. Committing to a stat will allow those that invest in them to achieve even higher potency than before. We hope that this leads to a bit more diverse landscape of build crafting than before, allowing players the choice of committing hard to a single ability type, or perhaps building something a bit more Swiss Army knife, while not allowing the choice of both at once. Internal playtesting has shown that a variety of both brand new and old reliable builds shine in this new system, so we're excited to see what you all cooked up. Now let's shift to adjacent topic, English. Exotic armors. How are they going to work in this new stat system? So first, before we get into that, we're going to talk about this. So this build crafting system only works if Bungie allows you to actually build more than 1 into 200. If it's only, you can have only 1 200 and the rest you can't, you know, maybe a couple hundreds, maybe a couple less than 100, it's going to be a problem. Because the stat system and how it works, it all derives around that. And all of them are good now, so and a couple of them are really going to outshine, and depending on your build. Obviously, some builds are going to be more melee focused, you want more melee, some are more grenade, different builds, different damage things, all that. But as a whole, if you think about PvP, well, your class ability is the main thing that's important. Your health's the main thing that's important, so that stuff's going to get increased. And then the weapon, if there's something that can increase your weapon damage, that's insane. So, that's crazy. But then your super is important, especially now because you definitely want to hire one so you get more back since there's no longer a base cooldown increase. Your grenades are very important. Your melees are very important. All of these are very important now, which is the problem, because if everything is super important for every character, it's going to be very hard to build. Unless it is possible to get 200 for multiple, and then have a couple that are over 100, like 130, 140. It really depends on what the highest scores you can get is. But if you're only able to get 1 to 200 and the rest are going to be under that, that's not going to be great for building. I mean, if it's like 150 plus, maybe it's okay. But anything below that's going to suck really badly. So, yeah. I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. Because some are very more obviously better, and then also, yeah. You're going to want insane weapon damage for PvE. You're going to want the highest you can get, period. PvP, same thing. Class ability, cracked as fuck, clutch up, help you in situation no matter what it is. So that's important. So as a whole, very worrisome, depending on how these stats work, and we don't know yet, and that scares me a little bit. Because if you can actually farm and stuff, then yeah, it's fine, If you can get like 3 200s, like you can get 300s now, if that's possible, you can technically get 400s, 4 100s currently. It's very hard to get, but it is possible. Though the other two stats are really low. But in theory, if you spaced out that throughout it, in theory, if you can get 3 200s and then have good stats, still have 100 to like 120 stats for the other ones, it'd be okay. But at the same time, I doubt they're going to let that happen. I feel like how it's going to work, it's definitely going to be 1 200, maybe 2 200s, and the rest are going to be like 100 or less. Which personally, I don't think is a good system. If that is what turns out to happen, I think that's bad. Because how do you pick which one's better, especially in Crucible, when all of those are insanely cracked for Crucible? That's very, very worrisome. So yeah, anyways, Exotic Armor 3.0. If you find yourself looking for the exotic armor, you have now only to realize you're going to need a different setup for your build. Don't worry, since the Armor 3.0 is announcement in October, our plans for exotics have evolved better to support this transition. With the release of Edge of Fate, we'll be updating all new drops of existing exotics to use the Armor 3.0 systems, reducing the amount of time it'll take to get armor of stats you want. In addition, we're told Ada 1 gave reproducing exotic armor a try. The supply may be limited, but most guardians should be able to focus their choice of any previously acquired exotics with some influence over their stats. So that's good. Of course, if you'd prefer to take your time and use the roles you have, they'll get the stat updates described above, but don't wait too long. Important Ada's exotic focusing will only be available in the Year of Prophecy, so a single year. Interesting. As for exotic class item, we'll be updating these items directly with stats based on the perks they have on them. If you already have perk combinations you like, keep them. If you're still hunting, feel free to visit the Pale Heart now to get ready for the Edge of Fate. Don't forget Zur. Either his will may not be his own, but he does bring exotic class items for purchase from time to time. True. We'll have more details on how this will work, how Ada's focusing will work, and the way stats will roll for all armor in a future TWID. What about Zur? I want to know about Zur personally. I don't know about anyone else, but what is Zur going to get? Because all the weapons at Zur suck, in the sense of the new weapon system. They're trash. They're going to be pointless. And yeah, some of them are craftable, you can get them for collections and all that, but overall they're trash. So how are they going to fix Zur to be useful? We got Hawkmoon too, which still needs its update, but whatever, Bungie. Prismatic in the Edge of Fate. So yeah, Prismatic's getting nerfed, but not really. It's an adjustment, it's not really nerfed. So anyways, Prismatic aspects that were originally planned to be reduced to 1 fragment slot will remain at 2. We feel this is a good middle ground where some of the more potent aspects are being turned down. But not by too much. Of course, we'll be playtesting this change internally before the Edge of Fate launch, as well to make sure it's the right decision. Here's the aspects per class and plan changes to fragment slots. Okay, before we talk about this, I'm going to tell you right now, this might sound like conspiracy to y'all, but I'm promising you, guaranteed, Bungie was already going to put them to 2. The reason they told us they were going to put them to 1 is because they knew if they said they were going to put them to 2, people would bitch and moan and complain. So Bungie said they're dropping it to 1. This is a common system. They do this kind of thing all the time for everything. All over the world, in every district of the world, they do stuff like this. They will, it's what they call bargaining, right? It's the same thing like pawn shops, or when you sell something, you bargain, right? You really want one price, but, you're going to overball it so that way they'll lower it and then you get where you want, right? It's the same concept here except reverse. They lowballed it, knew we'd complain about it, to up it by 1 and say, hey, we did this for you. In reality, it was already going to be that way. I know that sounds like a conspiracy, but that is actually how it works. Most of the time, if not all the time, any type of negotiation system is like this. They either lowball to make people complain so that way they'll buff it, or they overball it in the reverse situations. And this is how Destiny used to work for weapons and stuff, and that's why a lot of people are mad that a lot of the weapons come out really trash. Because, well, Bungie's afraid to make it too good. But in reality, their best option would be to make it too good and then lowball it. Or drop it down a bit more so that way they'd be like, hey, this was always the intention, or something like that. So, anyways, that's my take on it. I promise you this is exactly what this was. They lowballed it because they knew we'd say, oh, okay, we can be okay with 2. This is legitimately, no joke, Bungie just trolling the community, of controlling your mind with a simple tactic. I know people are going to not believe that, but trust me, that's what's happening. Bungie played us all. Everyone that thinks this is great, you're getting played. It was always going to be 2. They were never going to leave it at 1. That's the truth to it. If no one complained about it and been like, oh, okay, makes sense, they would have still put it at 2. Or if enough people would have been like, okay, whatever, 50-50, they still would have put it at 2. I mean, if everyone was completely fine with it, they probably would have just put it at 1, said fucking YOLO at that point. But they weren't going to do that. Truthfully, they were going to put it at 2. They just wanted to put it really low to make people complain and bitch, and that way they could satisfy with 2 instead of 3. In reality, if they did 1 with these, it still wouldn't matter for at least Titan, because you only need 2 fragments that help the build mostly. The other ones are extra just nice, but you don't need them. So in reality, it wouldn't have done much to the Titan, like everyone was complaining about. So this isn't a nerf. All these abilities, as far as we know, are still going to be the exact same that they are currently. They're just making their fragments, or the fragments that are tied to the aspect system lower. So aspect's going to have 1 to 3. Now these ones are going to have 2. It's that simple. So it's not a nerf. It's just an adjustment. Anyways, Prismatic Titan, Consecration 3 to 2, revered from 1. Again, this is bullshit. They were 100% going to do 2. It was just to play the community, so we'd be like, okay, we're okay with 2. 2's okay. If they would have said 2 originally, we all would have bitched. They would have had to stay 3, and Bungie wouldn't have been happy with that. So they gave us a solution to our problem. They made us convinced that we decided that 2 would be good enough. Fucking brainwashing, Bungie. Knockout remains at 2, reverted from 1. Prismatic Hunter, Styles Execution remains at 2, reverted from 1. Again, these weren't, so yeah. Ascension 32. I don't know why the fuck Ascension is getting nerfed here, because Ascension is trash. Okay, yes, right now it's got a kind of a crazy build for resistance stuff, but in reality, it's not that great. It does nothing. The damage it does for higher tier ads is so trash, it's a joke. It tickles them. Even low tier ads, like middle tier, maybe not low, but middle tier ads don't kill. A lot of them, it doesn't insta-kill. So honestly, I don't know why the fuck this is getting nerfed. Again, it's not getting nerfed, it's getting adjusted. The fragment slots are getting adjusted, that's it. Winter Shroud 3 to 2 makes sense, it's broken. I really don't understand Status Executioner, though. I mean, it's right. If anything, it should be 3 at the moment. I think they should raise it, personally. It's not really broken. It's really not. So, it's fun, but you don't see it in PvP but once in a while. But it's not that great. You don't see it in PvE but once in a while, because it's not that great. So, PvE, it actually has more of a use, but it's still, compared to just other things right now, it's not that great. It's not horrible, but it's not that great. Prismatic Warlock, Feed the Void remains at 2, reverted from 1. Helion 3 to 2, makes sense. Bleak Watcher 3 to 2 makes sense because they're both really good. With many changes coming to our stat system geared to in Armor 3.0, we will see Prismatic as an incredible odds for ad clearing or boss TPS focused players among you. We're looking forward to seeing how you experiment with Prismatic and alternate subclass at launch. Here's the problem I have though with this, which no one's talked about, is the whole ideal behind Prismatic was it was supposed to give you more fragment slots. That is something they literally advertised. What makes it great is you get extra slots compared to the normal ones, and that kind of makes me sad because that's no longer a true statement. So in reality, I think people need to recognize that they're kind of getting fucking scammed in a sense. We're kind of getting trolled and scammed at the same time here. Just saying, is another thing. Prophecy's on, you should farm it. Great weapons, they're fun weapons, they're good weapons. The depths are also going away, so make sure you farm it. Depths rotations calendar, Nightfalls. For this week, it is the Glaive. It has Chill Clip. You should get it just because it's Chill Clip. It's pretty cool. Next week will be Shadow Price, which who the fuck cares for that? But at the same time, it's no longer going to be a Dept that exists, so it might be worth it. Paladrone is week 17. Plug 1 is week of 24. Lotus Eater on July 1st. July 8th is Wild Style. You should definitely farm these weapons because the Adepts are going away if you're not aware. Adepts are no more the new system, a weapon system. Tier 5s are going to be the new Adepts, but they're not going to be called Adepts. They're just going to be called the weapons they are, which personally I do not like. I think that's a really bad system. The Adepts should have been enhanceable as well and been extra stats on top of it to make them even better. They could have done that, but they decided just to scrap them entirely, which is bad because now it means there's even less type of weapons to farm for. And it also means Trials is going to be even less caring about. So, unless they still put Adepts in Trials, I don't know. I really don't know. But from what they said, it made it sound like Adepts are gone. I could be wrong, but it makes it sound like that. June 3rd, yesterday's question. That's this weekend. I'm very excited for yesterday's question. I love this thing. I really want to get a good Adept for it, so I'm going to be farming the crap out of this. Keen Thurstal, it's a great sniper. Really can't wait for it either. Trials of Cyrus, no week on June 17th, June 24th. Tomorrow's Answer, very excited for that too. It's not a bad weapon for damage. Soray's Wrath on July 1st. I really want to get this damn God roll. I cannot get it for the life of me. And July 8th, Aisha's Care. I really want this too. Literally everything I want. Other than Tomorrow's Answer, I want it, but I don't crave it to the end of the world. There's so many good ones right now, it's not that big of a deal. Pride Month has begun. Make sure you grab the pack if you're able to. These do look cool as shaders. I'll give it to them. More Pride Month classics, free emblems, stuff like that. Or that's a donate emblem, I think, actually. We got some codes here for an emblem, or an emote, sorry, and a transmat. Grab if you don't have it. Easy code. It's pretty simple. You know, make sure you do them. The whole known issue list is just crazy as fuck at getting out of control. So, yeah. F that. List gets longer and longer every time. We are getting close to Edge of Fate. We will intend to share more details about what's changing in the following weeks. Though creators are new, our own streams and also our weekly TWIDs. Destiny is evolving as always, and we hope what we have shown so far has you excited. We know Tides are particularly happy with the new exotic they are getting. I summoned the Meow Meow. Meow Meow. Yeah, Titan one definitely is fun looking, but I don't know how good it's going to be part in content, so that's another issue entirely. Anyways, that's the TWID. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think. There's some cool stuff in here, good information, some better clarification, but there's also some very iffy questions I have that they haven't fully answered. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get more information and more answers. I'd love to know what the highest stats you can reach is, so obviously it's 200, but how many of those you can reach is 200, so we'll see. Anyways, just leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think. Thanks for watching. We out. Adios.